Good afternoon, the second Sunday of Advent. Here we are in the second week of Advent. Still a time of preparation, reflection, and waiting for the coming of God the Son on Christmas morning. A time of preparation and reflection on who we are and how we might be, the people God created us to be, so that when our waiting is over and Christmas morning comes, we can greet the newborn King as newly born people ourselves, God's people. I've had my grandson stay with me for a while. There's a story. A young child came to see his grandfather for some advice, some teaching if you like, about the presence of God. He couldn't see God. The boy is impatient and forgets he has 2 ears, 2 eyes, but only one voice. He rapidly fires questions at his grandfather and quickly argues with each response the grandfather is permitted to answer, or rapidly asks yet another question, taking no time to pause and consider. The wise grandfather slowly and deliberately touches his ears, indicating that the young boy could take time to listen, and then says quite calmly and gently, "Just look." The boy is very disappointed. "I'm always looking," he says sulkily. "No, you're not," says the grandfather. "In order to look at what is here, you have to be here, and you are mostly somewhere else." In Advent, we are encouraged to listen to what is going on all around us. Reflect on what we have no time to listen to. We're encouraged to look and see what is going on all around us. Reflect on what we give no time to notice or really want to see. Pray that we might open ourselves to God's service. It is far easier to say we see places where God is not, rather than where he is. In the history of the Jewish people, before Jesus was born, the people came to the wise old prophet Isaiah with questions and seeking teaching, because they had come to see the world as a place without God. They could only see the world as empty of God. "He has withdrawn from us," they would argue and complain. "All the war and all the suffering and political unrest, this is all God's fault," they would shout. Isaiah may have touched his ears, indicating that they might listen, and he most likely told them to look around them. Stop. And then they realised that God has not hidden himself from them, but they had been too busy listening and looking somewhere else, looking at everything but God. They simply could not see God because they simply made no time for God. But God had never left them at all. Let's return to our young boy and his grandfather. The grandfather told his young grandson this story about a man called Peter. I wonder if after hearing this story, you might be able to see God also in your life. It was Advent, and Peter took time to repair, reflect, and wait for God to come. He prayed every day, "God, show me your face." Peter had tried to live a good life and was truly longing for God to come. He worked in the paper shop where he had worked for the past 20 years, and here he heard all sorts of conversations and met many people. A young mother was telling how she did not have enough money to buy presents for her child. When everyone else had gone, Peter said to her, "I heard what you said to your friend. I have a few toys on the shelves. They are not selling very well. Go and pick one." She could hardly believe it, for there were some wonderful things on the shelves. As she went away with a gift for her child, Peter was delighted. His reward was her smile. Another day, he caught a young lad stealing a magazine from the shelves. He was on the way out with the magazine stuffed up his jumper when Peter stopped him. Peter could have called the police or told the boy's parents, but he saw the boy was afraid and he felt sorry for him. "If you want a magazine and have no money, talk to me," Peter said. "Magazines are soon out of date. I can always find one to give to you, but you must not just help yourself. Now take the magazine for free this time, and remember to come and talk to me in the future." The boy's face changed from fear to a beaming smile, and he said thank you to Peter and ran from the shop. Peter was delighted. His reward was the boy's smile. Another day, an old man came into the shop and was saying how lonely he was since his wife had died. This was going to be a lonely Christmas. Peter said, "My wife always cooks too much at Christmas. Would you like to help me eat it? Please come. You will be really helping me out and very welcome." The old man smiled and said, "You have made me feel wanted. I would love to come." Peter was delighted. His reward was the old man's smile. That night Peter prayed his Advent prayer. "God, I am waiting. Please will you come so I might see you more clearly?" In a dream, God spoke to him and said, "Peter, today I come to you, and 3 times you made me smile. Grace and peace be upon you." This is the end of my short reflection. But in summary, I guess the Advent message is this. On Christmas morning, we relive the coming of God, coming to his people in human form. God is in the world. He is in the people who seek to serve him, and in the people who live in unity and peace with each other. Advent gives us the opportunity to listen and look and reflect upon ourselves, so we might invite God to live in us and through us. Because you see, spending time preparing and reflecting as we wait may bring us to consider that everyone wants to change the world. They want the world to change for the better. But very few discern that for this to happen, they need to change themselves. Come and journey through us this Advent, so that when the Son comes on Christmas morning, we are prepared to be the people he created us to be. God bless you. Amen.